All right, we've got some breaking inputs which have just come in where India has reacted very cautiously over the United States' move to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. The Indian External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Ravish Kumar said that India's position on Palestine is independent and consistent and not determined by any third country. This is a significant development. Everyone was waiting for what India would, of course, have to say. Right from the formation of the State of Israel, India has maintained that despite whatever could be said by the world powers, it will toe the line that is dictated by morality and fairness, and that's exactly what India has done, where Ravish Kumar, the spokesperson for Foreign Affairs, has come out and said that India's position on Palestine is independent and consistent and is not determined by any third party. This is the first reaction that's come on this issue, and for more on this, we are joined in by our international affairs correspondent Ramesh Ramachandran. Ramesh, good morning to you. We were all waiting for India's reaction on this recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel by Donald Trump, and finally India has reacted in a manner that a lot of people in India were, of course, expecting it to do.
Good morning, Mohammed. Now, while many capitals around the world were getting agitated over Trump's decision, before the decision and also after the decision was made, India kept a studied silence on this issue all these days. And only after Trump announced his decision did India react. And the spokesperson said it, if I can just quote him, India's position on Palestine is independent and consistent. It is shaped by our views and interests and not determined by any third country, unquote. But that said, Mohammed, this statement, although it is short, precise, it hides more than it reveals.
Right.
It does not say for a fact clearly whether India is for a viable, independent Palestine state with East Jerusalem as its capital, as is being demanded by the Palestinians. Also, does India see the shifting of the capital to Jerusalem as conforming to India's quote-unquote interest? So a lot of questions remain unanswered even as we speak, Mohammed.
Right, and also just break it down a bit more for us, Ramesh. It's very interesting as to how the entire reaction has been worded. Has India actually, said anything at all in terms of supporting, in terms of condemning this decision by the president, or are we playing the wait-and-watch game for the time being?
Well, Mohammed, to put things into context, India's consistent position has been that it is for a viable, independent state of Palestine. But over the last several years now, at every multilateral statement or the joint statement, we've seen India drop the phrases East Jerusalem as its capital. So questions are being asked as to whether that stands removed for good or not, or does India still believe that East Jerusalem should be the Palestine state's capital, number one. Number two, of late we've seen this particular government in India today, the BJP-led government, come close or forge better ties with Israel. Prime Minister Netanyahu is expected to visit India in the next couple of months. So it remains to be seen how India walks this tightrope, as it were, between Israel and Palestine, between the Arab world and Israel in navigating its affairs or policies in the region.
Right, and also considering the kind of rapport that is shared between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and also between Donald Trump and also with Netanyahu, do you think perhaps India's reaction has been a little more muted than what was expected? Because a lot of people would have turned around and said that, look, the kind of closeness that we witnessed between the United States and Israel with India, perhaps India may have spoken out a little more clearly in terms of either supporting or not doing so. Is that something that surprises you at all?
Well, at one level, Mohammed, I'm not surprised, because India has always walked a tightrope when it comes to affairs of West Asia or Middle East, as others call it. And this statement is no doubt muted, as you put it, or cautious. But when you look around the world, most capitals or many capitals have come out clearly either for or against the decision to shift capital to Jerusalem. And to that extent, India remains muted, remains non-committal, and very unclear as to what its position is eventually going to be on this issue of moving the capital to Jerusalem or recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. So muted, unclear, confused. Maybe you can use any number of adjectives to describe India's statement, Mohammed.
Considering the fact as to how this entire thing will play out, do you think, Ramesh, that if India were to support this, will it in some ways affect the relationship that it has with other nations of West Asia? Or if it chooses not to support it, will it in some ways dampen the sort of rapport that we've seen India have with the United States and Israel?
The good thing is that India is one of those few countries which has good relations with all the players in the region and beyond. And that is a fact recognized even by the Arab countries, Muslim majority countries in the region. India has good ties with Israel. India has good ties with the GCC. India has good ties with the North African countries, Turkey, you name it. So many an Arab commentator has said that India is uniquely positioned to play a more influential role in managing the affairs of West Asia and the Israel-Palestine question in particular. But India remains diffident, very reluctant to play a more high-profile role in the region because of its domestic concerns. So while many commentators ask India to step up to the table, as it were, and play a more influential role, India remains non-committal and reluctant to play any more role than it already is in the region.
To leave it there, Ramesh, thank you very much indeed for joining us with that perspective. So India has finally broken its silence. This was a big announcement that was expected and that was made by Donald Trump. And now India has come forth and said that its policy towards Middle East and towards Palestine and Israel is independent and consistent and not determined by any other nation. So that of course, is the big announcement, that of course, the big comment that has been made by India in terms of how it reacts to Donald Trump's big decision on recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Well, that's all the time we have in this edition of the News Bulletin.